Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're playing some Eldrazi. This is a deck that just copped a ban. It lost Sowing Mycospawn, which I think changes the deck fundamentally, because before it just had this inevitability built in with the Mycospawn, and now it probably wants to be more like an aggro deck. So, how are we going to make it more like an aggro deck? We're going to play some Eldrazi Linebreaker. This is a 3-mana 3/3 that at the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains haste and gains +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of Eldrazi you control. So this just gets out of hand very quickly. It's going to have haste the turn it comes in anyway, so it's kind of like a 3-mana Reality Smasher. Speaking of Reality Smasher, we've got the big boy. It's been a while since I played this card, so we're going to give it a whirl today. We've obviously got Thought-Knot Seer as well, and everything else is going to be Modern Horizons based Eldrazi. So we've got our Fleshrakers. We all know this is pretty busted. It gives us the reach to make the Kozilek command really pop. We've got some Heralds the End, which is an aggressive creature that's hopefully going to make our Kozilek commands better, as well as just giving us more beef. We've got the Once Upon a Time and Devourer of Destiny to set our early draws up, and we have a Wastescape Battlemage to interact with. We have more in the board as well. We've got Chalice of the Void to shut down things like Swords to Plowshares and cantrips early doors, and the Kozilek command, the sort of Swiss Army knife to do everything. Mana-wise, we have 3 Wastelands and 1 Yavimaya. You could play 4 Wastelands here, but I wanted the Yavimaya because we need green for the Wastescape Battlemage, as well as making our Eye of Ugin tap for 2, which is quite nice, and gives us some really good plays on a slightly earlier turn than our opponent might expect it. We have Cavern of Souls, Secluded Courtyard, and an Unclaimed Territory to help pay for the cost of this Linebreaker, and some Simian Spirit Guides also for the same thing, and also powering out things ahead of curve like the Chalice of the Void. That is basically the deck. We're going to play our guys, we're going to turn them sideways, and our opponents are going to be either sad or happy, and then we're going to move on with life. Sideboard-wise, we've just got some big haymakers like Null Rod and Leyline in the Void. We've also got a little bit of removal in Dismember, and the Wastescape Battlemage, just a couple of Disruptor Flutes to round things out. I don't think this is the perfect build of Eldrazi, but it's what we're going to start off trying today, and hopefully some people who play this deck more will fine-tune a build. But I think Eldrazi is still going to be a player, but it's going to look quite different now. Alright, like and subscribe, strap in, and let's stomp some people with some big colourless monsters. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. We're on the play. Our hand is interesting. So we get to do both of these. So our hand has a lot of potential. I'm going to keep this. So we get to Devourer and Once Upon a Time. So hopefully we can put something like a Linebreaker into play as early as turn 1. It might have to wait till turn 2. We're just going to start jamming some big monsters, ignoring what our opponent's doing, hopefully, and getting there. So we could Once Upon a Time ahead of the Devourer of Destiny. So in response to this, I'm going to Once Upon a Time first. An Ancient Tomb. I would like an Ancient Tomb, please. Right, now the Devourer of Destiny can trigger. I like these things. Linebreaker is pretty good, but we don't have the second red yet, do we? We could take the Courtyard to give us the second red, or we could just take an Ancient Tomb to get more mana to power stuff out. But with our mana base right now, we already have the Linebreaker coming in on 2. This is interesting. We could Fleshraker into it, the Heralds the End. Or I'll take a Fleshraker. So I think it's Ancient Tomb, cast Eldrazi Linebreaker on turn 1, swing for 4. Alright, we got the aggro juices flowing. Let's see how this pans out. Does our opponent just oops all spells us immediately? Could be. But next turn we can... Okay, this looks like we're just getting oops on turn 1. Alright. Our hammer's going to be pretty sick next turn. Oh, we're just getting Thought Seized. Are they able to go this turn or not? They took the Devourer. They're just taking whatever because it doesn't matter and they're going to win the game. Feels like that's the case. So yeah, so they Balustrade Spy, they mill themselves over, and then we die. Let's just see if they've got anything unusual in their build. Are we looking at seeing any of the green stuff here? So they got Spirit Guides. Have they got the other green stuff? No, I can't see a Charbelcher in the main, which is interesting. I think the best builds have Charbelcher main. What is this? Lively Dirge. Search the library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. Return up to 2 target creatures, return mana value 4 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, like we're definitely dead here. Okay, so we just play some Leylines, and we play some Null Rods, and we probably play some Disruptor Flutes. a whole bunch of stuff here. The top end of our deck doesn't really matter that much. I don't think we need the Wastescape Battlemage. The Once Upon a Time can't find the Null Rods or the Disruptor Flutes or any of that jazz. This does exile cards from graveyard, so we probably want to keep that. I think we'll get rid of this Devourer. We're still looking at trimming some other cards here. We do need to keep a certain amount of threats going. We could probably just board out these guys and just rely on this selection of cards to win the game. There's not many threats, is it? Just Linebreaker, Fleshraker, Thought-Knot Seer. But that's useful spells. It doesn't really play Magic like other decks, and you kind of have to eschew what you would normally be doing in a matchup in order to compete with it. What is this? A turn 1 Null Rod, which will shut off their artifact mana, but might not stop them from losing the game. I think we can just mulligan to get a Leyline here. Okay, this is a much better hand. So we keep this. I think we put back the K command for now and just have some aggressive stuff going on. So Null Rod can shut down the Charbelcher pivot if that's what they're doing. But Leyline obviously is the main thing that messes with what they're doing. So we Leyline, we Once Upon a Time. We have a turn 2 Linebreaker, possibly into turn 3 Thought-Knot Seer. So let's cast this for free. Okay, I'll take a Wasteland here. And I will deploy this Ancient Tomb. So our opponent might respect this as a Kozilek's command, where we can pitch a Spirit Guide to make it work. Yeah, it's very rare that you get a good game against Oopsal spells. It's kind of just pretty one-sided either way. And it's not the most exciting of Magic the Gathering, in my opinion. Eldrazi. Let's cast the Linebreaker. Alright, 4 damage. Next turn, the Thought-Knot Seer is going to hit for 6 alongside this. So the clock is pretty strong from the old Eldrazi here. If we want to wasteland this, it's going to cost us. But I think I would rather Thought-Knot Seer and just get that going. I will play the Wasteland out though. Uncounterable Thought-Knot Seer. Let's see what they're working with over there. Undercity Informer, a bunch of mana, a Goblin Charbelcher. So we take the Charbelcher. And then we go to combat. This targets our Thought-Knot Seer. Gives it +2/+0 in haste. We attack for 9. Not bad. Our opponent's dead next turn. It's unlikely they can put together a win with what they have here. Alright. Fun Magic. Okay. I'm happy with how we sideboarded. I think we just go in again. I guess we could have the Wastescape Battlemage to blow up a Charbelcher, but I think the Null Rod does a similar job but better. This does not really get us where we need to go, so I'm going to mulligan this one. Just a case of, does our opponent keep 7 and kill us on turn 1 or not? They're keeping 7. Let's mulligan. This is a turn 2 Null Rod. That will lose us the game if we keep that hand. This is a turn 1 Null Rod. This will work. I believe our opponent is going to put go towards a Charbelcher kill here. That's what this hand is good at disrupting. So we want this and the Null Rod. We probably want the Cavern of Souls and the Fleshraker. And I guess the Once Upon a Time over the Eye makes sense here. Are you just going to donk us on turn 1? We would like them to spend all of their resources making a Goblin Charbelcher. And then we can Null Rod it. That would be ideal. A Balustrade Spike. Alright, we're just dead. Cool. Yep. The statistics on the Oopsal Spells deck aren't to the point where it needs a banning, but the play experience is pretty grim. Let's go to round 2. If you've been watching my content and thinking, I'd like to play some Legacy too, then check out 3for1 Trading, one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. They have weekly offers and upload new cards every Wednesday. And it's not just Legacy stuff they sell. They have a beautiful selection of vintage and old school cards too. Support from sponsors like 3for1 Trading make it possible for me to put out videos and help keep Legacy alive, so why not give them some love? Click their link in the description below and use my code COW3 to enjoy free worldwide shipping on your first order over €500. I don't really like this hand. It seems a little bit slower than what our deck is capable of. We want to do something good on turn 1. Weird hand. Very weird hand. How does this one play out? We don't have any starting mana outside of these Spirit Guides. We can't cast a Colourless cost on any of our things. We could just Chalice our opponent. We do have a draw step coming. Do I believe in our draw step though? I don't think we can keep this. Okay, this is fine. We'll keep this. We'll keep these 2 lands. What do we want here? I think we need the Heralds End. Do we need double Fleshraker? Double Fleshraker is pretty gross. Okay, we're just going to go in on the Eldrazi Linebreaker and try and get our opponent dead. Because we know we have the mana to get to this. Because we go turn 1 Eye, turn 2 Fleshraker, turn 3 Fleshraker. I guess this ends up being a turn 4 play if we don't hit lands. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. We'll see how it pans out. Tropical Island. A Ponder. So we could be looking at something like Cephalid Breakfast. Or like a bank control deck. Hard to say. Could be Omnitel. Let's see what materializes for us this turn. Thought-Knot Seer. I think the highest upside is playing out this Eye of Ugin, because if we find an Ancient Tomb, we can deploy the Thought-Knot Seer. If they show and tell in an Omniscience, we get to put in our Thought-Knot Seer, and maybe that takes the card they were trying to win with. Shuko. Okay, so we're on Breakfast. Understood. We don't have a lot of wiggle room around a Breakfast deck. Cavern of Souls. Yeah, that's kind of awkward, isn't it? I think we play this out, though. This doesn't give us the mana we need in a uncountable form, so they can counter this Fleshraker. Okay, are we dead next turn? We could be. So next time we can deploy the Fleshraker, and then we can deploy the Thought-Knot Seer. Or we can deploy the Linebreaker, then the Thought-Knot Seer, right? Because we're going to have 2 colourless mana. So our next turn is going to be great, but I think we're dead. Alright, you can show me your library. We are dead here. Yeah, lots and lots of combo, just all up in our business. Is their list pretty stock? Let's find out. Alright, our opponent's got 1 card left in their library now, and I don't think they have the Thassa's Oracle. So it could be the last card, or it could be in their hand. What have they done here? They've got back the Nomads. So the card in their hand is the Thassa's Oracle. Okay, so they've given us a line to win this game, I think. So we play this out naming Eldrazi. We spend colourless on this, and this can be coloured mana, so this is uncountable. So this should hopefully, if the last card in their library is the Thassa's Oracle, then sure. But if it's in their hand, then we get to win here. We could have done this in a different way. We could have played out the Fleshraker first, but this game entirely comes down to, is the Thassa's Oracle in their hand? And that's it. Okay, so didn't really feel like we deserved that one, but we got it nonetheless. So we can stop the Cephalid Illusionist combo with this if we wish. We can try and mess them up with some Disruptor Flutes, or we can try and mess them up with some Dismembers. I think I'd rather lean on Dismember because it just has more use in general, I would say. The Chalice of the Void looks pretty good here. Do we need this Wastescape Battlemage? It does blow up things like Urza's Saga. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Maybe we'd turn some of these at the Heralds End into Wastescape Battlemages, actually. Playing up Urza's Saga feels pretty cool. Do we want these? I think we do. How do we fit them in is the question. Like, we're not messing with our main package. I guess maybe it's like Reality Smasher. The Trample is pretty good, but maybe we don't get space for the Dismembers if we're just doing maybe the Devourer's out. I guess we could trim some Kozilek's commands. I think the Kozilek's command is just better though than Dismember. Okay, we're going to try like this. This gives us no turn 1 play, a pretty medium looking turn 2 play. I think we should mulligan to something that's a little bit more explosive. Not a fan of this one. Let's go again. Okay, I'll keep this one. It's on the explosive side. So we're going to keep the Leyline. We're going to keep an Eldrazi Linebreaker. We can get rid of another one because we only have 1 red source. And I guess we get rid of the K command. Because this just beats down anyway on its own. We have a plan. Yeah, our opponent said they drew the Oracle that turn. Makes sense. Unfortunate for them, but I'll take it. Okay, we just got a Ponder here, so we're not looking at a turn 2 combo attempt, which gives us a little bit more time. So they would need to remove this as well. So I guess they don't have a turn 2 combo attempt in any way, shape or form because of the Leyline. We'll see what happens in this game. Okay, so we can play around a daze here. So let's get the Linebreaker down. Alright, 4 damage. We're doing the aggros. So next time we have a Wastescape Battlemage, that will come in with haste because of our Linebreaker, and that'd be pretty tasty here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Source of Plowshares though. There it is. Okay, no more haste, and we're just left with a Grizzly Bear. Can we do better than Grizzly Bear this turn? No, is the answer to that one. We could save this to try and blow something up, which I think is what I'm going to do here. I don't think just putting a Grizzly Bear into play is going to get us through this game. I think we need to leverage the fact that we can blow up an artifact or an enchantment with it. So that could be a Shuko, or it could be an Eldrazi Saga. Look at that, absolutely rewarded immediately. And this is a cast trigger as well, because why not, I guess. Okay. So they are threatening something along the lines of a Nadu combo soon. Eldrazi Temple. This won't cost us any life. So we'll cast it with the green kicker. So green mana from this, colourless mana from this. Up that as a Saga. Consign to memory. Okay. Bad news for us. I don't think we're at casting Simian Spirit Guide even if we could, but we'll see. I think the extra red mana is quite handy. Okay, so they're not using the Eldrazi Saga. I guess they could ponder into a land, actually. So they're going for the... They might already have the land in hand, we don't know. They're just trying to see as many cards before they make decisions. We shouldn't get hasty here. They did not shuffle the ponder, so they have an Eldrazi Saga construct for next turn. And we're going to need something to get through this, I think. Kozilek's command is pretty good at killing a token. Cavern of Souls. I guess we're just going to keep playing lands here. We could have named Monkey with this, or sorry, Ape, and then played the Simian Spirit Guide. But I don't think playing the Simian Spirit Guide is going to win us this game. But having Uncounterable Eldrazi might. So we're getting to Fairy Mana over there, where they might just be able to Fairy bounce Leyline. If they play a Nadi here, I will just scoop. Alright, this looks like a Nadi. Yep, I'll scoop to that. Okay. Didn't go the best for us there. Do we want to do anything differently? I don't think so. I think the Wastescape Battlemage makes sense here. Alright, let's go back in. If we had something like Curse Totem in the sideboard, that would obviously be very good for this matchup. But again, they can still beat Curse Totem because they have the Shuko in their deck. We need that new white dragon that shuts off creatures and artifacts. It's like Damping Sphere the man from Tarkia Dragonstorm. So we can shut off the graveyard lines, work our way towards doing Thought-Knot Seer. Wasteland is actively good against our opponent. Alright. This hand is not exciting, but I will work with it. I will deploy an Eldrazi Temple. Next turn we have a Thought-Knot Seer. Although if our opponent plays out a land we want to Wasteland, we can do that, but we're probably saving this for Eldrazi Saga. If they get a green source, then I'm more likely to blow it up, because our opponent probably can't win this game without a Nadu. If we draw a Chalice, then we're punished for playing out the Ancient Tomb, and we might have to use our Spirit Guide to get the Chalice in, because I would like to Wasteland if we do a Chalice. They didn't shuffle the Ponder though, so they're probably set up for lands over there anyway. Hey, Once Upon a Time. We haven't cast a spell yet, so I'll take a free spell, please. Some sort of massive monster, please. So we could take the Cavern and just guarantee our spells resolve. Or we could take another spell to resolve. I think we want the Cavern, as sad as that is. Play this, name Eldrazi. Your friend of mine, Thought-Knot Seer. What have you got over there, opponent? Force of Will, Swords to Plowshares, Shuko. Wow. That's quite an annoying hand for us to play against. So we obviously needed the Cavern, but it's not going to work out great for us. So, as horrible as this is, I think we take the Shuko. The reason being is that they get to remove our guy anyway, but this way they are like very far away from the combo because we have the Eldrazi Saga answered. We do need to draw some gas. Alright, so there is the Saga. We will be destroying that later. They will plow this and draw a card. Enjoy your free card there, opponents. But at least we've blanked these two Force of Wills. Let's get rid of this as a Saga. And now, neither of us has anything going on. Our opponent does have a removal spell for the next thing we get, though. Which is not a great position for us to be in. But our opponent is quite far away from doing Nadu things. Okay, they're going to put back these two Forces. Why would you keep Forces on this? You wouldn't. Unless you're really worried about something like a Chalice of the Void, perhaps. We found lands, they can shuffle away. We still need to find a guy here. That is a guy. I suspect this is going to be us gaining 3 life. Okay. So they already have the Cavern for green mana anyway. So getting a Tundra here doesn't matter. Okay, but the next creature we have, that one should work. Just need to keep drawing bangers off the top. Cavern of Souls. That's the last information we have from our opponent. I'm assuming they got rid of the Force of Wills, because that would make sense here. Nomads, have they got a Nadu for next turn? Because that will just win this game for them. I don't think we're going to beat a Nadu. Especially when it's the Nomads Nadu. Okay, so we can take out their green source to stop Nadu coming down. Right, we're going to take a hit here. An almighty 1 damage, bringing us down to 26 life points. They've got another Nomads. Come on, some sort of creature. A Kozilek's Command, you say? That is pretty tasty here, isn't it? Now, it is counterable, but we believe our opponent has boarded out their counter magic. So I think we cast this now. So I would like to make some dudes and scry a bunch. This is only for creature spells, so we don't get the mana for that. But we do get to tap our Eldrazi Temples for it. I think our opponent is actively not wanting counter spells right now, so they shouldn't have a day. They could have a daze, but we'll see. Consign to Memory, yeah, that's a good counter spell to have. That is the sort of one they would keep. Okay. Because at least it does stuff to triggers, even if our stuff is uncounterable. Obviously that wasn't uncounterable. So it picked up nicely. Okay. We're just getting beaten down by little guys. We've got plenty of time to work this one out, but then our opponent is a cantrip deck, so they got plenty of time too. They were going to play something and then backed off. I wonder what that was. An Eye of Ugin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. We're not quite at tutoring mode, but we're not that far away. Right, we've got Brainstorm over there. I feel like the card they were thinking about playing last time was Cephalid Illusionist. Maybe they decided to just hold it so that they can try and get rid of the Leyline and then play it in a way that we're unlikely to interact with it. Okay, so they've got a green source now, so Nadu is live next turn, and then the game ends. So we need a good turn here. Right, we're going to be put down to 20. Come on, deck, do something for us. A Wasteland, I'll take that. It stops the Nadu. How many green sources do they have left in their deck? Hedge Maze might be it. Might be Trop, Hedge Maze, Cavern. It might have a second Trop or a Savannah though. But we've got a brief reprieve. I think our deck should probably have the One Ring in, to be honest with you. Does feel like that would help us out a bunch. Right, 18. They've got themselves another green source here. A Cavern of Souls. I will play this out naming Eldrazi. And then our opponent gets a Hedge Maze at end step. They untap, they play Nadu, they draw 6 cards, they go to our turn, they draw 6 cards. We're not beating that. Especially when they're at 16 life. So as soon as they put the Nadu on the stack, I will scoop. But maybe they don't have it, maybe they're still searching. They milled off a card. That doesn't necessarily mean they're looking for the Nadu, it might just mean they don't want to land. A Ponder. They're using the Hedge Maze to cast a Ponder. That is interesting. I thought you'd want to keep your green source in case you find the Nadu here. So next turn we can start using our Eye of Ugin. It's kind of a big deal. A Glaring Fleshraker. Is that better than using our Eye of Ugin right now? I don't know if it is. I think the play here is to activate our Eye of Ugin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we activate our Eye of Ugin. The next turn we can do like double Fleshraker, and that's pretty strong. Or we can go and get the Thought-Knot Seer if that's what we want to do. Just trying to think what's the quickest way that we can actually kill our opponent here. Glaring Fleshraker is a thing that allows us to activate this more. So I think we're going to go and get a Fleshraker. Intriguing. So we can tap this. We can't make our Fleshrakers uncounterable here. Can I have a Fleshraker? But we will make our Thought-Knot Seer uncounterable. Let's try another Fleshraker. We'll yield to the trigger. Time to memory, countering this and the trigger. There it is. Like, our opponent had to have stuff like this if they're not casting spells. But because the Eye of Ugin reduces the colourless mana, we need to put... reduces the generic mana. We need to put a colourless mana into this, so we can't use the Cavern of Souls. But we can use the Cavern of Souls for this little friend here. They could have a Consign to Memory for the trigger. Right, they're just ploughing our guy. Okay. We get a spawn. We get a look at their hand. 4 cards. Any good. Prismatic Ending, Force of Will. Interesting. I think we'd probably take the Oracle here. Just exile that. So they can't just do a line where they win the game by drawing their whole deck. I'm sure they can probably string together a win if they draw their whole deck, though. Are they going to pending our little guy? Okay. Goodbye, little token. And another Nomads. Okay, so you know their hand. They can't really attack here. A Wastescape Battlemage. What does that actually do for us? Not the most amount of things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can just Secluded Courtyard and then have more stuff for next turn. Do I want to attack? So we would take 3. I don't think our life total matters here. That's a calculation I'm making. And then next turn we can Wastescape Battlemage after we get our Glaring Fleshraker. Okay, this is the thing we get to blow up with our Wastescape Battlemage. That's pretty tasty. So we're going to take 3 damage here, I suspect. Just get in for a good old-fashioned race, but this race isn't going to work out very well for them. Go find a giant friend. We're probably not getting a giant friend. We're probably getting a little Fleshraker here. I think that is the best option. Another Leyline isn't great, is it? So let's play this Fleshraker. And then we can play this with all the kickers, right? Is that worth doing, or do we just want to blow this up? So this will get us 1 mana back. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So we won't have enough to activate anyway, so we may as well just do it all. So we go blue and green here. This is creature and target. Yeah, so you can't use it to bounce itself and replay it a bunch of times. So the race is well and truly in our favour right now. And next turn we can tutor and then also play something. Because we have this extra 1 mana here. Now our opponent can Prismatic Ending this. But they probably have to Prismatic Ending the Fleshraker. Does the Nadu? It isn't the Nadu. Goodbye Fleshraker. Our opponent doesn't get to attack here. We drew a Linebreaker. That's a pretty good one, isn't it? Is that better than fetching up a monster? I believe it is. So, red mana, colourless mana. Alright, we've got the GGs here. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be a 7 power guy. So this is lethal. Alright, we managed to get there. We needed our opponent to not really do a lot to get there, but we showed the power of doing Cavern of Souls stuff. Let's go to round 3. How do I feel about this hand? It is mighty slow. I think we'll keep it though. It's got a good selection of tools. If our opponent's doing like turn 1 or 2 combo stuff and kill us, then, you know, we're not being there anyway. Yavimaya, not really the card we're looking for right now, unfortunately. That is a Ponder. I didn't shuffle. We don't have a Wasteland target here. I think we play out our own Ancient Tomb. It has the highest upside for other lands we can draw. It has a pretty huge downside if our opponent Wastelands it though. But my opponent is giving me Omnitel vibes right now. Do I think we resolve this Thought-Knot Seer? Or do we put it in when they show and tell so we can take the thing? I think we have to try and play it now. I think that's the only thing that makes real sense here. Got Force of Will over there. Pitching a Flusterstorm. So the show and tell style decks are traditionally a very poor matchup for Eldrazi decks, just generally speaking. Like even back in the day when we had like the first round of Eldrazi, people were running Confusion in the ranks as a sideboard card to try and beat Sneak and Show. They went deep instead of just saying we'll lose that matchup. We're getting stocked up or we're getting show and telled. Show and tell, eh? I guess I'll put in my Linebreaker. I'm going to play a bigger Eldrazi than us. Okay, a stock up. This should win them the game. Like they should be able to stock up into more cantrips and then find another stock up, and eventually a stock up hits a stock up and they start netting more and more cards until they find the Eldrazi. Right, yeah, just drawing 3 cards. This deck is really sweet. I think this is the best version. Although, if you can't find the show and tell, it does feel a bit awkward. I don't know if it should be running a Eureka or not. Another Omniscience, sure. A Ponder. Okay, we are still going, as it turns out. Wasn't expecting that one. We're going to fire off this Kozilek's command in the attempt to try and make some more guys. Is a Wastescape Battlemage even useful right now? This can go on the bottom. We don't need this Cavern. We don't need this Sin Spirit Guide either, I don't think. Do I want a Wastescape Battlemage? We can enable up one Omniscience. It just doesn't work. I just put it on the bottom. Right, we drew nothing there. So this can target one of these spawns. Chat little creatures. If we can find a creature next turn, we might be able to win the game. But our opponents had to fail pretty hard here. An Uro. Sure, that gains them a little bit of life. We can exile that if we need to. It's a nice backup plan to have as well. Was the one card they found off the Uro good or not? Ancient Tomb, was that what they found? A Cunning Wish. Okay, so we're dead now. They'll get shared summons and put an Emrakul into play. We're not beating that. What do we have against this? We can play Disruptor Flute, naming Show and Tell. Wastescape Battlemage is a cast trigger, so we can't put it in, so we have to let them resolve their Omniscience and then try and blow it up. That sounds like a horrible plan to me. So I think the plan is just have a couple of Disruptor Flutes. And maybe the Kozilek's command can go here. I don't feel good about this one. 3 for 3 on combo deck so far. Not sure the banning of Sowing Mycospawn is really going to impact the fact that everyone's just running combo decks right now. What does our hand do? We make a turn 2 Linebreaker, or we make a turn 2 Disruptor Flute. Okay, I think this is okay. We play the turn 1 Temple, and then we use this to make the Heralds End, and then turn 2 we will cast Disruptor Flute, trying to make the Show and Tells cost more. And then the turn after that we have the Eye of Ugin, and we can kind of do a little bit more. Scalding Tarn. They're less likely to go off on turn 1 on a Scalding Tarn draw. They kind of need Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal. Now, they can have double Lotus Petal still. But it looks like we've dodged that for a turn, at least. They didn't shuffle the Ponder. That's always terrifying. Secluded Courtyard. Let's play this on Eldrazi. I think we have to try and stop Show and Tell from happening. Alright. Force of Will pitching Flusterstorm. They still have Flusterstorm in. That is weird. Do they really have that little to board in against us? I guess their deck is already so good against us. They just have like something that maybe hits a relevant K command or something. What would I like to see here? It the Heralds End. Does that help us out? It does, right? So play this out. We tap this. We get this little friend. And then we get the Heralds End as well. So we might be able to kill our opponent next turn if all this works. This will target itself. It's a big boy. So this is 11 damage on turn 3. So like our aggro is fine. It's just our aggro is slower than our opponent's combo most of the time. Impulse. Now they might just have nothing and fizzle. They do need to find one of 4 specific cards in their deck to even think about going off. Unless they're running the Eureka builds, which are very, very uncommon at this point because Stock Up does such a good job of digging that you can quite reliably find a 1 of 4 cards in your deck. Alright, opponent. What are you up to? We can also just Kozilek's command to make a bunch of tokens, which we can then make one of them larger and send it in. So they've pondered here, so they're looking for like Ancient Tomb into Show and Tell here. They shuffled off that. I think we might have them. No? They have 3 mana here. Uh-oh. It is the Show and Tell. I guess we put our land in. We'll name our drives with this. Okay, so they have an Atraxa. I think we can exile this, right? Let's see what they keep here. So this is 2 mana, 4 mana, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So we're 1 mana shy. So Lotus Petal, they're playing out. Snow-Covered Forest, they're keeping the Force of Will and the Show and Tell. So we know they can deal with our guy. This does not help with our Kozilek's command plan. We can play this out. We can name Eldrazi. We can try and exile this. It's not going to resolve though, right? So we go, I would like to create a bunch of spawns. I would also like to exile target creature. I think we have enough mana for this. I've done my maths right here. X is 7. So we do have it done there. This is just going to make our opponent hopefully get rid of their Show and Tell here while they pitch in. A sink into stupor. Okay, we can't really attack here unless we want to trade. So we can give this +3, or we can give this plus a bunch. Would I like to trade? I think I would. If we attack with these two, they could block here, gain 7, but then they would take 4 and exactly die. So they have to trade here, right? They block here, they go up to 11, and they take 8, 9, 10, 11. So they have to trade here. Oh, yeah, they just straight up dead. They are straight up dead, right? No, they take 1 from this, and then they take 6 more. So that's 7. So they're not dead, they're just on 4 still. The combat mass is combat massing, but they have to block the Eldrazi Linebreaker here. And we basically cancel this out, and they're still at 4 life, and we have lethal on board. Alright, it's not often you attack into an Atraxa as a good move, but here we are. We know they have Show and Tell. Do they have something big to go with it? We might be able to get around something like an Emrakul if we can draw another at the Herald's End, or we could Wastescape Battlemage and bounce it. There's some options available to us. We could draw a Linebreaker and go wide. Another Atraxa in play would be difficult. Alright, we got the game. We go to game 3. Do we do anything differently? Maybe we want some more Wastescape Battlemage so our opponent is forced to interact with it a little bit. So if they play like a... So we're beating them down, they play out a Show and Tell, we then bounce their guy back. And it's kind of annoying for them if they were relying on that to block with. I think that's reasonable. I think I'll take out an at the Herald's End. And do I want 2 at the Herald's End? Go on. How good is Chalice Void here? Pretty good still. How good is the K command? Maybe we'll just have some Battle Mages instead. Once Upon a Time can find us some stuff, but our hand looks a little bit weak, but we should be able to find a sort of soul land, I reckon, from this. I will keep this and believe in the power of Once Upon a Time. And our opponent's upkeep, I'll fire this off so they don't have any like free counters or like, you know, cheap counters like Flusterstorm going. We did find an Eye of Ugin. Is that actually that helpful for us? I think it probably is. The Linebreakers are very difficult to cast off this, unfortunately. We're ideally looking for something like an Ancient Tomb there. Would have been the best draw, because then we could put this Disruptor Flute in. They shoved the Lyra off that Ponder. That was quite quick. Chalice of the Void. Would love to play you, but we don't get to do that. I guess we play the Eye of Ugin. Next turn we play the Yavimaya, which turns us into a mana-producing land, so we can deploy the Disruptor Flute. The Flute is more important than the Chalice here. And we probably only have 1 more turn before our opponent attempts the combo. So I would very much like to try this Disruptor Flute out as soon as possible. A Brainstorm, okay. I'm trying to find an answer. Maybe we can cheese our way through this one. Kraken of Fetch. Is this going to be another Brainstorm? Or have they got like a Consign to Memory here? It's a Spell Pierce. Alright. We forced them to use some cards here, but we haven't really impacted their game plan that much. Tropical Island. No Show and Tell. Okay, so we've got some time here. I'll play this, name Eldrazi, and Bring the Pain. Actually, no, this doesn't even work, does it? Because we haven't got the colourless mana yet. Alright, I think we are on Chalice of the Void X equals 1 here. Yeah, the mana base on this deck feels like it leaves a bit to be desired. I think the cost of Linebreaker being 1 colourless red is so irritating for us. Like if it was just 2 generic mana and then a red, then we'd be away. Alright, here it comes. Oh no, it's a stock up. Alright, we've still got some time. The Chalice of the Void can sort of close down some of their lines as well if they play an Omniscience, because it means any of the Ponders they find don't work. Oh, they're Ponders and Brainstorms, so it shuts their ability to dig, even when they've got an Omniscience down. What is the play here? I think mana is the gate for our opponent here. So we have red mana from this, and the only place we can get colourless mana from right now is this Courtyard. We can't play this Battlemage either, but we do get to attack for 4. It's a bit slow. This is a turn 4 attacking for 4. Yeah, the Eye of Ugins are a lot better in other builds, for sure. Alright, they got plenty of mana over there. Is this the Show and Tell? It is. Okay, we need to hope they don't have an Emrakul here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, they have an Atraxa. What are you going to find, Atraxa? Sheltered Emrakul, no Emrakul. There is a Cunning Wish though, so our opponent can just shoot it for Emrakul that way. Alright, we're getting bodied by combo decks today. Fun times. Alright, on to round 4. Round 4 and we are on the play. Our hand does not look great to me. I think we can do a lot better than this. I think this constitutes as better, doesn't it? So we can keep this. This gives us turn 2 Fleshraker into it, the Heralds the End. Does that mean we have the time to play this Chalice? So I think we're either getting rid of an Eldrazi Temple or the Chalice here. The Eldrazi Temple, if we get rid of that and get Wasteland, it can get a bit awkward, but we do have the Once Upon a Time. So we can't find something like a Chalice of the Void off a Once Upon a Time, but we can find something like an Eldrazi Temple. So I'm going to go with the Temple. So if we find something like an Ancient Tomb here, we can just deploy the Chalice of the Void. We did not find one of those things. We did find a Thought-Knot Seer. I think I'm just going to take the beef here. And if I play out the Temple, I can play out any of the Heralds the End. But then if this gets Wastelanded, we don't get to do Fleshraker stuff. I think that's fine. We're missing out on a trigger from our Fleshraker, but we're going to have 2 damage from our Herald on the first turn cycle anyway. Or sorry, the second turn cycle. So it kind of comes out in the wash. And next time we can Thought-Knot Seer or Fleshraker, depending on what we feel is the best move here. Fleshraker is around a daze. Let's attack first. This only reduces the cost of expensive colourless spells. I think I'm going to play a Fleshraker around a daze here. Wait, this isn't even around a daze, is it? Because this is only mana for colourless Eldrazi spells. Whoops. Alright, we got it in anyway. Exciting. Are we just going to get Entombed and reanimated on? It's a Fatal Push. Okay, so we're not getting Entombed on straight away. That's good news. I've seen a couple of different blue-black reanimated builds floating around as well, but there's obviously all the blue-black tempo as well. So, Ancient Tomb is clearly the play here. I will... What is the prize? Is the prize the Thought-Knot Seer? I think it probably is. So I'm going to go for this Chalice. Playing this pre-combat means that our opponent might just Fatal Push this now, and then maybe they were going to save the Fatal Push. However, if they react to this in another way like this, then we know there's not a Bowmasters coming down, so the Herald's End is more secure to attack. Right, we're in with the Chalice of the Void. Attack for 2. Then we'll fire in with good old-fashioned Thought-Knot Seer. What have you got, opponent? Thundertrap Trainer, Snapcaster Mage, Shoulder's Edict. What is in their graveyard right now? They have a Fatal Push they can't use. Interesting. I could just take the removal spell, and then that forces them to use 4 mana to get that removal spell, so that's another turn cycle, and then they have to Snapcast to do it. That seems pretty reasonable. We could take the Snapcaster because it is going to be useful later on, but at the moment it doesn't do anything. If we take the Shoulder's Edict, then the Snapcaster is turned on in a couple of turns. We can take the Thundertrap Trainer. Actually, sorry, no, we take the Edict and it's exiled, isn't it? Sorry. What am I talking about? Yeah, so we take the Edict because it's exiled, and then they can't Snapcaster it back. Probably looking at something like a Thundertrap Trainer right now. This doesn't have Flash though, so maybe they're just holding up the Bowmasters because they know they can trade into the Herald's End. A Kozilek's Command that we know will resolve. Okay, I believe we attack here. We're attacking with just this. We want the Bowmasters to come down so that we can Kozilek's Command in response. All right, let's do this. We're still clearing out some of our opponent's resources. So, do I want to kill this, or do I just want to make a bunch of stuff? I think I just want to make a bunch of stuff, actually. It lets them get a reasonable trade-off here. If we let this come in, they ping this. They will trade this regardless of what we do. So I think we're just going to make a bunch of stuff in response. So this is a Kozilek's Command for 4 because of the Eye of Ugin here. Oh, sorry, it's 5 because we have the Herald's End, isn't it? And then we get to stack top of our library. Okay, I don't really want... Actually, well, I kind of do want this Simian Spirit Guide, don't I? But it's kind of hard to go Simian Spirit Guide into Linebreaker because that's 2 draws that we're kind of... Right, so we're going to put the Wastes away. We definitely want this Thought-Knot Seer. We can cast that next turn. We can't cast... Well, we can cast that this turn, actually. We've got all the spawns. Yeah, that makes sense. The Linebreaker is really difficult to cast, weirdly. Maybe we're just shipping the Linebreaker and the Simian Spirit Guide, because that's 2 draws we have to have for that to actually work, which is definitely the cost of the Linebreaker here. So we can put the Herald and then the Thought-Knot Seer. And we can take another bite out of crime from our opponent's hand. Yep, so they're going to ping this, they're going to trade the token off. Oh, they're trading the Bowmasters off. Okay, I would like to cast this. So sacrifice 2 here, then next turn these will attack as 1/2s. Let's see what our opponent's working with here. I imagine it's pretty much the same information as before. Flame of Anor. That can deal damage to our guy, so let's take that. And then next turn we play It Heralds the End, and then we attack for 10, 11, 12, 13, so 1 damage shy. If they crack another fetch land, then we have lethal. But they do have some chump blockers they can leverage here. Just an old-fashioned Thought-Knot Seer beatdown. Have to imagine we're seeing the Thundertrap Trainer here. Well, they've gone down to 13, which is the amount of damage we have available next turn. A Sheoldred's Edict. Okay, that's pretty good. So they get to draw a card from our Thought-Knot Seer trigger. Our damage is not enough to kill our opponent next turn. Then we have the Thundertrap Trainer. Surprised I didn't fire this off first. Kaito, Bane of Nightmares. Well, that's a real one, isn't it? Okay, the Heralds the End. Let's just jam this down. We can go to attacks here. So they can Snapcaster Mage, make us sacrifice a creature next turn. So I think we need to leave back one of the spawns, just so we don't get hit by the Kaito. They have to pay the full whack for the Kaito. That's what we want. Right, they're just putting us under the bus. So they're probably just going to play Kaito, and then minus it on our Thought-Knot Seer. And then we just kill it with our other bits and pieces. That seems fine to me. They could play Snapcaster and... yeah, they're going to go for Snapcaster Sheoldred's Edict here. This is quite a nice line for our opponent here. Because if we get rid of the Heralds the End, which is the correct thing to get rid of here, it does mean that we end up with just 1 threat, which is something that Kaito is very good at dealing with. So I think this one is slipping away unless we find some big plays. An uncastable spell. That's not a big play, is it? Okay, things aren't looking great for us now. So get the Kaito in. They're gonna stun our Thought-Knot Seer. Yep. And they're probably gonna crash for 2. We'll just take the 2. Doesn't matter here. I'd rather block the Kaito later on. An Ancient Tomb. We'll play it out. We have 5 mana, 6, 7, 8 mana. So we can Eye of Ugin for something. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can go and get a Thought-Knot Seer. I think that's what we're doing here. I don't think there's any call for a Reality Smasher here. I think we just want the Thought-Knot Seer. Tamiyo, Ponder. None of these cards do anything. I guess we just take the Ponder. So now if they want to minus the Kaito, then it dies. They can plus the Kaito and attack, and this will be a 4/5, so we can't block. And then they can chump block with the Snapcaster so we don't get to hit the Kaito. The next time the Kaito can phase us down, but then this one comes untapped. But their Kaito is going to be big enough to rumble here. So we're going to need something else. And maybe the Reality Smasher was the better get, because we don't get to play it immediately, but then it can trample away with the Snapcaster. We take 4 this turn. What have you got for us, deck? A useless Magic the Gathering card. So we attack the Kaito this time. Our opponent chump blocks. Then the Kaito hits us down to 1 here. So that shuts off our Ancient Tombs. But then we get to kill the Kaito. And we know our opponent doesn't have any castables in hand, so we need our opponent to brick for 1 turn here. And then we're in a reasonable spot. Although Orcish Bowmasters becomes a terrible thing for us to see on the other side because it just kills us straight up. But we can... our opponent probably has to minus this, otherwise we have them dead on the crackback here. They could go for the higher upside play of Surveilling, but I don't think that's great either. It depends what they've drawn this turn, really. So, are they going to tap our guy down? Have they found something here? They didn't make their guy bigger, so they're not going to kill us with Bowmasters right now. Ancient Tomb's still off, of course. Surveil 2. Alright. So they got nothing going on over there. Okay, they left 1 card on top. So there was 1 card that stops them from dying right now. A Thundertrap Trainer kicked. Okay, so this gives them 2 blockers. Sorry, Offspring. It is Kicker. Let's just call it Kicker. So this is 2 blockers, which is a real problem. And a Lightning Bolt. So we are dead when our opponent untaps. No, we're not, because we have the Chalice of the Void in play. And a Ponder. Okay, so they found 2 cards that don't do anything. But how are we getting through this? Because if we attack both of these into the Kaito, we die. The Kaito untaps, it taps one of our guys down. They attack us for 2. Yeah, we're dead. We just bottomed out and couldn't find anything. Yeah, opponent handled that one really well. That's quite impressive. What do I want to do here? They are using their graveyard a little bit, but not a huge amount. I don't hate the Disruptor Flute on Kaito, because that card obviously changed the dynamic of the entire game. I wonder how that game pans out if we get the Reality Smasher instead of the Thought-Knot Seer then. Because then we trample over the Snapcaster, kill the Kaito. Yeah, I think the Reality Smasher would have actually been the better pick there. I don't think the Wastescape Battlemage is doing very much, so let's have a Disruptor Flute over that. And then, what are we looking at? Maybe it's one of our 2/2s here, because they're just not that strong into what our opponent's doing. Okay, so turn 1 Chalice, and then we have Once Upon a Time to hopefully dig us out of it and find something. I think this is acceptable. We have 2 threats. Cavern of Souls is a good one. It does mean that our opponent's way more likely to counterspell our Chalice, but that's fine. I think we do play out the Cavern. They haven't shown us Wastelands yet. They are 3 colours. And this means that we can draw cards over the next couple of turns that end up being better in terms of how we play them out. Alright, we're going to see a Force of Will here. Force of Negation, sure. Okay, we got him to Turak, but it cost us a thing. So it was just a 2-for-2 trade in the end. Undercity Sewers, that's fine. So we have this colourless land here. This is a different colourless land, but it's not required right now. But if we play this out right now, then next turn, if we draw a soul land, we get to play the Smasher. So it is correct to play out this Ancient Tomb and take the damage. Our life total probably doesn't matter here. Let's make an uncounterable 2/2. And hopefully next turn we can draw like an Eldrazi Temple and then send an uncountable Reality Smasher into our opponent's face. Okay, that's not going to happen. That was a nicely timed Thoughtseize there. And a Tamiyo. So they blocked our attacks. Okay, that's pretty reasonable, isn't it? I'm just thinking, do we play out this Yavimaya now, or do we play out the Courtyard? I think it's just the Yavimaya here. Right, let's see what our opponent's working with. Lightning Bolt and Yuriko. They get 1 hit in with the Yuriko off of this Tamiyo. Or we take the Bolt and they can't bolt at the Heralds the end. So it would, I think we can take 1 hit from a Yuriko. I think if we attack here, our opponent will just block it with a Tamiyo, but we'll see. It's free for us to do this because this isn't doing anything on blocks anyway. Okay, so probably attack with the Tamiyo, put in the Yuriko. They get 1 hit with this, but then it gets blocked by our creatures for the rest of the game. Is this where they reveal something that costs 16 and kills us? Unlikely, but stranger things have happened in Magic the Gathering. Alright, so in comes the Yuriko. A Brainstorm. Yeah, this is obviously a good card, but, you know, we're not in a terrible spot here. If we keep drawing lands, we will be there. I'll keep this back to block the Yuriko and just crash in for 5. There's the Brainstorm we knew about. They've obviously got this clue that they can draw a card off of. They have a Tamiyo in hand as well. Surprised they didn't play the Tamiyo and then Brainstorm, because then they could have flipped it. There is a Tamiyo. So if they'd have done the sequence the other way around, they could have had a Planeswalker. We can't really attack here. Let's draw something good. Wouldn't mind a Smasher. Thought-Knot Seer, that's pretty good, isn't it? Okay, we'll cast this now. So we go... Actually, do we need to play out our land? So we use uncountable mana, we use the colourless from the Courtyard. And here comes another Thought-Knot Seer. Force of Will, Snapcaster Mage. I will take this Snapcaster Mage and leave you with 2 cards that hopefully won't do anything. So we can attack with this Thought-Knot Seer. Is there any point attacking with this? I don't believe so. Got chomping coming or not? No. I will play this out naming Eldrazi. So something like a Linebreaker would probably just win the game on the spot. Right, so they're cracking the clue. They're fatal pushing our Thought-Knot Seer. This gives them a card back, which is unfortunate for us. It's also going to flip the Tamiyo. So maybe they wanted to attack first and get the clue. So this can buy back a Fatal Push in another turn. So that's a bit of a problem for us. Yeah, I think our opponent's just going to get through this one. A Wasteland. Is that useful here? So if we attack the Tamiyo, they have to block. Or the Tamiyo dies if we attack with both creatures, right? Well, if we attack with just this creature, the Tamiyo will die. So they'll either trade their Yuriko or their Tamiyo. If they trade the Yuriko, the Tamiyo gets back the kill spell, kills our Thought-Knot Seer, they draw a card. That's probably better for them. So we attack with both things at the Tamiyo. This does give our opponent a chance to connect with the Yuriko. But I think that's unfortunately just the thing we're going to have to live with. So this way, if they minus the Tamiyo, at least it dies, so we can get the Tamiyo off the board unless they plus it again. But they have to give up something here. Right, they're just giving up the Tamiyo, relying on the Yuriko to do the work. Let's get rid of one of these Undercity Sewers, or this only Undercity Sewers. Just make it so our opponent can't necessarily deploy the cards they're drawing. It is annoying getting hit by this Yuriko, but if they do that, they're taking 7 on the backswing if they don't have a follow-up. And we could draw another Ear at the Herald's End, or we could draw a Reality Smasher and just win the game. Thundering Falls, no extra damage, that's fine. They've got 3 mystery cards in hand, which is quite a lot. Wouldn't be surprised if something like a Bowmaster's here. It's not generally great against us, but in this situation it would be pretty reasonable. Okay, a blank card doesn't do anything. We have a 2-turn clock anyway, so I'm just going to attack with my 5/5 and hold this back to block the Yuriko. We probably should have played out the Ancient Tomb in case we draw an Eye of Ugin next turn. Alright, are we going to throw the Yuriko under the bus? Hit the Herald's End. That's pretty good. Alright, to game 3. Yeah, seems reasonable. I think we just carry on. Do we want some removal for some of their guys? So instead of Disruptor Fluting, we could try to Dismember their creatures instead. That works, I think. They're a little bit more creature heavy than I thought. I thought they were just like a tempo deck, but they've shown us some ninjas and stuff as well. So being able to kill the ninjas feels like a worthwhile pursuit. Turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. This is classic gaming. We'll keep this. And we get to perform our opening actions. We get to keep one of these cards. We can keep none of them as well. I think I'm tempted to just Wasteland and start this game all over again. My opponent hasn't done anything with this land. Let's just see if we can... Right, I had a brainstorm, but this is not an optimal brainstorm by any stretch of the imagination. This also feels a bit like a we need to find our next land, otherwise this isn't a game sort of brainstorm. Right, I found another land. Ancient Tomb. Let's drop the Chalice. If we have something like a Daze here, we get to play around it with the Simian Spirit Guide. Yes, getting rid of the Simian Spirit Guide makes it harder for us to play the Linebreaker if we draw one, but that's a problem for later. Shutting off half their deck seems like a good thing to do. Consign to memory, sure. Also, by slowing the game down a little bit by doing that first turn cycle, it means we're more likely to draw into a Cavern of Souls and just shut off another chunk of our opponent's deck. Island into Brainstorm. Thoughtseize is pretty good. I suspect they take the Thought-Knot Seer here. We have a turn 3 Devour... Sorry, in 2 more turns we have the Devourer of Destiny, because we can use this as the 7th mana on it. An Eldrazi Linebreaker. We have 5 mana here. So we go 1, 2, and a red for this. We're playing this around a Daze. That's the reason for this sequencing. And then we'll play the Herald's End. So we could have played the other way around to try and see if we get a counterspell, but let's be honest, our opponent's not going to counterspell a Grizzly Bear. So it's better to try and play around the Daze, in my opinion. Alright, Force of Will. Let's get the Herald's End out. So we can't play the Devourer of Destiny. Oh, sorry, we can play the Devourer of Destiny next turn because of it, the Herald's End. It reduces its cost by 1. But do we just play out a raw 6/6 here, or do we want to use it as a removal spell? If we attack into Orcish Bowmasters here, how does that pan out for us? Not great, but I think we're still doing it. I'm not going to play out this 6/6. It is just a big guy, but if they play a Kaito next turn, then they can just tap it down and it doesn't do anything. I think we're going to try and get the value out of this, because that's kind of how things went awry last time. Our opponent ended up just getting more and more value on each turn cycle, and then we ended up falling behind. Eye of Ugin. Okay, I think that changes things, because now we have something we're working towards with the rest of our mana to get some more value plays going. 2, 4, 5, 6. So pretty close. Alright, I think we're just going to cast the big boy. So we've got 2-turn clock here. This is quite difficult for our opponent to answer with red removal and things like fail pushes as well. Alright, so taking out our 2-2. Let's attack. So we know the main answer to what our opponent is doing over there. It will be a Shoulder's Edict, right? It's a Shoulder's Edict, or it's a Kaito. So we could play a Chalice of the Void for 1 to shut off their cantrips to find more stuff. Or we could play a Chalice of the Void on 2 to shut off specifically Shoulder's Edict. I think I like the Chalice on 2 here. It does shut down some of our plays, but this 6/6 is basically only checked by a Kaito now. Alright, we got the match there. Interesting, quite a lot of back and forth. It did feel like we were kind of at the mercy of the top of our deck a little bit too much, which is kind of the nature of Eldrazi, but I think we should probably be running some Wanderings. Right, that's 4 rounds in. We are currently 2-2, so a positive record is achievable, and the matches we lost, well, we played 3 games every round, so lots of magic for you lovely people. Alright, this hand seems fine. It was Devourer of Destiny. Delver of Secrets. Alright, we're in a classic matchup here. Alright, Devourer of Destiny. What do we want here? What are we looking at with our hand? A couple of lands. We can make the Linebreaker on 1. Maybe try and force our opponent to interact with that. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. So I'm just thinking how much we want to use this Cavern of Souls. I think I might just play a Grizzly Bear, as wild as that sounds. Right. I don't think this is worth fighting over for our opponent, but if we don't play this and our opponent gets to Wasteland us and keep putting us back and back and back, then us not committing anything to the board is going to be bad for us. Whereas this way we can trade some resources backwards and forwards a little bit. You know, trade some life points. Right, they're brainstorming to make their Delver of Secrets flip. That is interesting. So this means that they're either going to be able to add a little bit more pressure this turn, impact our creature or impact our lands, but they can only do one of those things. It's a Preordain. Unusual to see the Preordain. It probably means our opponent is solid blue-red. Alright, so going for the Wasteland plan. This is why we played out the Wastescape Battlemage, so that instead of just falling behind the race every single turn, we're at least trading some life points backwards and forwards. A Simian Spirit Guide. Okay, this is kind of big news, isn't it? So we play this, we name Eldrazi, and the Linebreaker gets going. So we want... Oh no, it won't be uncounterable, will it? Ugh. Simian Spirit Guide, you betrayed me. Maybe they'll not see that this works the way... Okay. Maybe they don't have any counter spells. Yeah, that was a mistake. We should have... We basically spent an extra Simian Spirit Guide we didn't need to there. We could have just played out the Eldrazi Temple. Sorry, the Ancient Tomb instead. Right, so they're lining on our guy. But we are ahead on the race just about. Another Delver, that can certainly swing things around. Yeah, that last turn was very loose from us. And I'm annoyed with myself. Okay, an Eldrazi Temple. Swing for 2. So we could have had a Thought-Knot Seer if we'd have played this properly. Now we would be at less life because of our Ancient Tomb, which might be a very relevant factor in this game. Right, Delver didn't flip, so that's a land or a creature most likely. So Murktide isn't quite ready to come down. Okay, now Murktide is ready to come down. It'll only be a 5/5, but that's still pretty large. Actually, I guess they preordain and it's a 6/6 first, right? Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay, it's just a 1/1 for now. They have a sorcery here. They're going to get double Surveil off of this preordain. Things are getting pretty tight for us here. The life loss from the Ancient Tomb is enormous. Okay, so they found the creature, so these will be 3/3s. So I think we lose this one. Delver traditionally is pretty good against Eldrazi, because you get to pressure their life total whilst they're also pressuring their life total with Ancient Tombs, and it gets a bit awkward. Okay, so we can't attack with our 2/2. We can fire off a Thought-Knot Seer at the cost of 2 life. 3, 6, 9, 12. Yeah, I don't know we can win this game. I don't think it's possible to win it anymore. We at least see the last card, I guess. Maybe it gives us some information. A daze. Okay, I'll exile that. And then this Delver should flip, and that should be 12 damage in the air that we have no way of interacting with. They left the card on top. Here we go. Yeah, we got pretty annihilated there. That's an awkward one. Our removal spells being Dismember is also a big problem for us as well, because the life loss is very real. What do I want to do about it? So the Wastescape Battlemage bouncing their guys is actually relevant, like with Murktide Regent stuff. So I think we're going to have the 4 Battlemages in. And then, do I want these Dismembers? Taking 4 life is kind of the same as taking 1 hit, but that's better than the alternative, I think. Reality Smasher is quite expensive, but does trample over stuff, and it's hard to answer. I like the Devourer of Destiny because it answers Murktide Regent, so I'm going to leave 1 Devourer of Destiny in. Yeah, I'm not really liking the build today, if I'm being honest with you. We've got Dismember, we've got Uncounterable Fleshraker on turn 2. I'll keep this. If we Dismember and our Dismember gets dazed, though, that feels horrible. Let's play out this Temple. I think sandbagging the Cavern of Souls makes the most sense here. A Bauble. Is this going to be Delver Bauble, or is it going to be Bauble target themselves, see if they're playing their fetch land or their regular duel? Okay, so I didn't like the card on top. Okay, so we get an Uncountable Fleshraker that does die to Lightning Bolt. Or a Cavern of Souls. I like the upside of a Chalice of the Void here. This is going to be very, very sweet. If it resolves, then it shuts down the majority of our opponent's spells. Alright, a Brainstorm response. Don't mind the old emergency Brainstorm. Next turn we have Uncounterable Thought-Knot Seer, if we want it. Alright, Daze. They're setting themselves back in tempo to stop this Chalice. So we have 2 lands in play to our opponent's 0. That's not a bad spot to be in. Misty Rainforest, that is a different land to the one we saw before. So they want to shuffle away 1 of the cards from the Brainstorm. Got themselves a Volcanic Island, and we're seeing a Preordain. So they're not committing anything to the board. So this is exactly where we want to be. So we can play a Fleshraker into a Thought-Knot Seer here, right? 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Yeah. We choose which one is uncounterable. I think the Thought-Knot Seer being uncounterable makes the most sense. Is this worth anything to you? No. Okay, so we can cast this uncounterably. This feels pretty good. Brazen Borrower, Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat. What have they got in their graveyard at the moment? Artifact, Instant, Sorcery, Land. So Unholy Heat is a clean answer for this Thought-Knot Seer. Understood. I guess that means we're taking the Unholy Heat. A Wasteland. Goodbye, Eye of Ugin. So we're probably going to see like a Lightning Bolt on our Flesh. We're going to try and borrow away our little friend here. Okay, this is a pretty nice find. Give itself a little bit of haste. And we get to swing for 10. That is a big old crack here. If our opponent bounces a Thought-Knot Seer, they die when we play this out. Yeah, because then this gets +3. Alright, that worked out pretty well. I would like to do that again, please. Now, there is an argument for bringing in like Leylines just to stop Murktides and Channelers, but I don't think that's a great way of playing it. Okay. I don't like the double once upon a time, but I do like the fact that we have the ability to cast our Linebreaker. A Dragon's Rage Channeler, sure. We're going to wait till our turn so we get a bit more information about what we're looking for. We could do it before our opponent plays their first land, so it doesn't get dazed. Alright, we got some surveilling going on over there. They left a card on top. And we got the Boar Wall popping off. So they got 3 types already. I think they're deciding if they want to crack the other Bauble or if they want to wait to see another card. Alright, let's have a Once Upon a Time, please. Eye of Ugin, Thought-Knot Seer. What is our land situation here? We do have 4 lands. I kind of want this Eye of Ugin. It helps reduce the cost of Thought-Knot Seer, but Thought-Knot Seer won't be in our hand if we take it. I think we should just take the beef. Just get the creatures going. And then we need to make a decision here. How much do I want to be wastelanded? If we're getting wastelanded, what is... I think we have to pay out the Courtyard. If they wasteland this, they take us off of one card, Eldrazi Linebreaker. If they wasteland our Ancient Tomb, they probably take us off of relevant plays for the rest of the game until we're dead. I don't feel very confident about this one. I think on the play, we have a bit more of a chance in this game, but on the draw, it just feels rough. There's the Wasteland that we were hoping we wouldn't see. At least the Channeler is only beating for 1 right now. We could try and Wasteland our opponent back and hope that nothing ever happens for the rest of the game. There's a line we're allowed to do, but I think we're going to try and get a Chalice in. Try and cut off things like Lightning Bolts and Ponders, Preordains, Brainstorms, all that sort of jazz. Right, Force of Will with 2 Surveils. That feels almost like drawing a card at that point. 2 Surveils. Alright, they're binning off an Volcanic Island. Binning off an Unholy Heat. Interesting to bin off the Unholy Heat, though. Like, they already had that card type, and this is the thing that can answer our bigger Eldrazi's. A Lightning Bolt in the upkeep, so they're trying to select for their draws here. If they can find a Wasteland, then we probably are just dead. Okay, they haven't got Delirium yet. Now they have Delirium. Okay, so now the clock has gone from 2 damage a turn to 6. If they play a Wasteland here, I think we're probably done. Okay, they didn't play a Wasteland, so we get to keep playing this game a little more. They're kind of low on resources. We can take out one of these and make a friend. That's the thing we probably have to do here. But then how are we beating this other one? Good question. I don't think we have a choice here. So it's exile a creature, and I think we need to scry just to look for like another Kozilek's command. If they have anything here, we lose. This isn't the thing we need to get us out of this hole we're in. A Dismember, you say? That doesn't work, because we're going to be on 2 lower life total after this hits us once. Which is the problem with Dismember here. I just don't think we have anything that works here. We need to draw another Kozilek's command and our opponent to not have anything. Because we'll be on 1 life. It shuts off our Ancient Tomb. So you're just really seeing how Ancient Tomb is such a handicap in this sort of matchup. It really is reducing our ability to operate. Alright, they had the lightning bolt anyway. Yep, we got absolutely monstered in that game. Alright, so we finished the league with a 2-3. Not a great result. We did play 3 games of Magic in every round. So, you know, they were competitive games. We did get to play a lot of Magic today. It was relatively on the margins how the games panned out, which is, you know, reasonably nice thing to see for the deck. However, we're obviously a big step down from the old Mycospawn days, which is probably a good thing, because Mycospawn was just a pretty miserable experience, and everyone's glad it's gone. But what Mycospawn did for this deck was meant that you could play this sort of late game, this mid to late game that was just really, really strong. And because we don't really have that anymore, it means we kind of need to get it done early, but we don't really have early drops. Like, we're playing a 3-mana 2-2 here, you know, 2-mana 2-2s. We don't really have the right amount of beef unless we've got the Linebreaker and Thought-Knot Seer doing their stuff. So it does feel really awkward playing this deck right now. If you want to supplement the late game, you should be playing the One Ring. I think every deck that has the ability to play the One Ring ahead of curve and wants the game to last like 5 or so turns or more should be playing the One Ring. I think the card is just too powerful. I hope it gets banned later on this year, but I think this deck needs the One Ring in. Quite how you fit it in, I'm a little bit less certain. The Kozilek's command felt really bad today because we don't have the mana. We're not playing Mycospawns. We're not adding extra lands to the board. So the Kozilek's command actually feels quite weak compared to how it felt in the old Eldrazi builds where you had the Mycospawn and you were just like, okay, I've got all the mana in the world, let's just go. Also, the Mycospawn allowed you to convert a single green Spirit Guide into permanent green mana if you wanted it, because you could just go and fetch up your Yavimaya. And that's something that we missed here. Linebreaker being 1 colourless red is huge here. There were multiple times where it meant that we couldn't cast this early as we wanted to. It did not feel great. I'm not sure what our solution needs to be for this deck. It felt like we were playing on really hard mode here and we needed to like have things line up nicely. and we were very much at the mercy at the top of our deck, and in the sort of mid to late game, we were just getting outclassed by a lot of other decks. Like you saw the Grixis Ninja Tempo-y style deck or whatever, when they just managed to completely grind us out at one time, whereas the way we beat them was kind of by cheesing them, like with Chalices or the Caverns doing a lot of the work. And that's all well and good, but I don't really like playing a deck that relies on trying to cheese people. I like trying to work out how I can adapt to what my opponent's strategy is and beat it. And we don't really have that. We kind of just spew our hand out and hope for the best. And if you're looking at like big stompy decks with things like Ancient Tomb, why would you play this over Mono Red Stompy? Like Mono Red Stompy obviously smashes this deck because it's got Blood Moons in. But also Mono Red Stompy, like Broadside Bombardiers is, much better ball control than what we're doing here. The Feather the Mirror Breaker is like a really nice sort of value engine. You can play just like a bunch of big guys. It's got better ways of suppressing what the opponent's doing. And it's a better one ring deck than Eldrazi is as well. So yeah, I'm not really convinced why you would play Eldrazi right now. So maybe we need to have another look and see if we can find a way through to build a very different looking Eldrazi deck that works. Hopefully somebody who plays Eldrazi a lot has some ideas and they're going to put something out soon and win an event or whatever. But I'm not really convinced Eldrazi looks very good right now. Like, you're going to be able to cheese out some people. You're going to have some matchups that are good. But generally speaking, I don't know why I would want to take Eldrazi to a tournament right now. That being said, I think it was right to ban Mycospawn. I also don't think Eldrazi was even the best Mycospawn deck. I think the Cloudpost deck was by far the better deck, and people were just sleeping on it a little bit. But yeah, I'm not really convinced that Eldrazi is a thing that we need to be paying much attention to right now. I think the best thing you can do with some of these cards is play like a colourless artifact deck with Fleshraker and Kozilek's Command. That's probably what you actually want to be doing if you want to play cards that look like, these cards here. Whereas this stuff doesn't feel great. It feels like this deck wants some sort of one drop. I like my aggro decks to have one drop. I think it might be yesterday on the channel I played an energy aggro deck and it just felt better at doing the aggro than what we're doing here. And it was just a lot more stable and had better interaction. So I just don't understand why we would be playing this, because, we're spewing life points away to things like Ancient Tomb. Our mana base is pretty horrible. We're struggling to cast some stuff. And the payoffs just aren't very good, right? Thought-Knot Seer, it's fine. Rhino Smasher, okay. Linebreaker is pretty good, but we don't have that many things to power it out to like make it do lots the turn it comes in anyway. So yeah, just not convinced by Eldrazi at all anymore. I didn't particularly like it even when it had Mycospawn. It just had this nice sort of late game engine and felt like a different deck really. I'm just not sure what it can look like now. Maybe it needs to be more rampy and we need to play like slightly bigger and like go into like Sire of the Seven Deaths or whatever. I think I played against somebody who was running that the other day. So maybe that's sort of what we need to do. Any thoughts, please leave them in the comments. I'm always interested to see what you lovely people out there are cooking. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles. And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.